This is Spirit Matters Talk, found at spiritmatterstalk.com. My name is Dennis Mundy, my co-host Phil Goldberg, and today is our final episode, at least for the foreseeable future. We've had, I don't know the exact number, but probably over 300 interviews in our archives. We've been at this for 5, 6, 7 years. Who's counting? And we've had seven. It's been a great run. We've had some phenomenal guests on. Everybody really that we ever wanted to get, we've had on the show, covering all areas of contemporary spirituality. Had a chance to speak to Phil about his books, his writings, what he's put out there in the market, and been able to respond to a lot of listeners and fulfilling their requests in terms of guests and subject matter that we might cover. So we want to thank everybody who's listened in and reflect back a little bit on what this 7 years has been like. And we did this on a shoestring budget. We thank everyone and anyone out there that contributed in any way financially to keep us on the air. And but it's been a little tight. But it's been a labor of love, and we want to thank you all for tuning in. And please feel free to stay in touch with us and dip into our archives. Phil?
Yes, and the contributions we receive will enable us to keep the archive online. So this is the grand finale, but Spirit Matters will live on.
Lives on, yeah.
And, infinitely, as long as we maintain the website. And so if you want to make subsequent contribution to make sure we can do that, we'd appreciate it. We're keeping everything online and on YouTube. And so please, tell your friends, tell scholars, tell spiritual teachers, tell anybody in this area. They're welcome to listen to the archive, use the interviews for educational purposes, not profit making, because hey, we never made any. And we'll keep it alive as long as we can.
Right. And I would say, for anybody who is interested in studying contemporary religions, contemporary spirituality, forget about taking a course somewhere. Go into our archives. You'll get a lot out of it. And also stay in touch with Phil and stay in touch with me. And if you have any questions or any follow-up, we can direct you. We would be happy to do that. And also share with us your thoughts on some of the episodes that you liked and some of the things that we didn't do that we might have done, and some of the things that we did that we could have done more of, and anything we did that we could have done without. And we try to cover all areas and be objective and open. And I think we were very successful in doing that. And I've certainly got a lot of excellent feedback from folks who have been tuning in, and I know Phil has as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And when we post a new show on Facebook, there's always some responses of people who are happy to discover an expert or a spiritual teacher they'd never heard of before, or something about a spiritual teacher they didn't know before. We had incredible content. And I want to say, because this is the swan song, Spirit Matters will continue, but not with Dennis. We will miss Dennis. We will miss the dialogue and banter that Dennis and I have enjoyed, and that's one of the things that made it so much fun. But Dennis has decided to move on and accept a job hosting a late night show on CBS. No kidding. But I am going to continue under the name Spirit Matters. Dennis gracious enough to let me keep using it on a different platform, a newish platform called mindbodyspirit.fm.
We should post that up. It'll be posted up on the website Should really, so that, yeah,
Yes, when we post, when we say goodbye on the website, I'll have that up. So starting in January 2023, and if you're listening to this um, in some future, it's already there on mindbodyspirit.fm. Spirit Matters with me, no Dennis. And
there
I
you go.
know it won't be quite the same without him, but on the other hand, we'll still be having really interesting guests, top of the line interviews. So tune me in there, and as we say goodbye to Dennis now.
Trails, yeah, as they say. And it's and when I look back on some, I don't want to mention specific interviews, but some were really very insightful. I mean, I certainly learned a lot, and
Me too.
and also on many occasions became quite inspired toward pursuing spiritual growth in this life, based upon the interviews, and hopefully many of our listeners got that as well. And also I know from feedback from other people, certain people are drawn to certain teachers or teachings, but all spokes in the same wheel, all headed in the same direction. And it was fun to see that and feel that. And even for me, there were some interviewees that I thought were, really struck a chord with me in particular, and others that I thought were, terrific, but I didn't resonate with as much. So, and I think that's that's something that's good to discover in yourself. And our archive certainly would allow that, because you get the full spectrum, every possible religious background that you can imagine, every possible spiritual background you can imagine. And maybe some people resonate with everyone and everything, but I think most resonate more with some than with others. And this is a good opportunity to really look and enjoy that. And I was kidding before, not completely kidding, when I said you don't have to take a course in comparative religion at all. Just go into our archives. But if you are studying theology or comparative religions or anything related to spirituality, or even quantum physics for that matter, and how it relates to human consciousness, things like this have all been written. I think you'll find something in some or many of our interviews that will touch upon those areas that are of greatest interest to you.
Yeah, and we had an incredible diversity of people. When I peruse
Right.
the archive, it's really amazing. So we had people representing a particular tradition, like a mainstream tradition. We've had imams, we've had rabbis, we've had priests and ministers, we've had Buddhist teachers and swamis. But we also had many people who cross over and aren't exclusively in one tradition or another, representing sort of universal spiritual teachings. And some people represented very offbeat traditions. We had, I remember a leader of the Baha'is was with us. I don't mean offbeat, I mean lesser known and unconventional, not mainstream. And we had people who represent none of the above, just straight on spirituality. We had scientists, we had scholars of religion. They weren't
Many
all
professors,
spiritual teachers.
we had chaplains of universities and
Yes, we had
traditions, Hindu,
and
Buddhist, Christian, Jewish, everyone and anyone we could find that we felt would be relevant to contemporary spirituality.
and had something to offer the listeners on a practical level. I remember, asking questions of people and listening to your questions and discovering something I never knew. This happened very frequently, and I've been studying this stuff for 50 years. But there's always more to learn, always surprising things to discover. is quite extraordinary in that regard. I consider having done this, and it's the reason I'm going to continue doing it. A real, it's like continuing education and ongoing sustenance for my own spiritual life.
Mhm.
So
So, yeah, and we are ending in many traditions consider a spiritual season.
mm,
Today is 2022, and it's December 14th, I think. So
15.
15th. So yeah, for many traditions, a very auspicious, a very spiritual time of
Yeah.
year. So
And
there you go.
I'm, you know, most of the years we were doing this, I was in LA, and then I moved to Western Massachusetts. So I am looking out my window at a white landscape. This
Well,
is
you
my
have snow.
first, this
Good
is
for
my
you.
first Christmas season where the weather is the way it's supposed to be
I,
in
my,
40
I,
years.
I'm in Iowa. I have been in Iowa. It's cold, but no snow yet. But many of the shows I did from Sweden because I have been spending part
Yeah.
of the year there. So through the miracle of modern technology, we can be anywhere and doing this. And so it's been, as I say, a joy. It's been a lot of fun. It's been very blissful, and I felt for both of us, in terms of our legacy, leaving something behind. Maybe 50 years from now, somebody that's downtrodden, they somehow come across these archives, and all of a sudden they think, you know what? Maybe there's more to life. Maybe I should pursue this. And for me, that's the greatest reward.
Yeah.
We didn't do so well. We didn't really try to do so well. Building financially, building it up, and but we did get some contributions. We did get some help, and we are deeply appreciative.
We were karma
But
yogis,
yeah,
Dennis.
karma yogis. But what we left behind, what we're leaving behind, I think, is a treasure. And we were the conduits. I mean, it's not coming from us. We found, I think I did a great job. And actually, Phil probably more than me, certainly more than me, was able to track down a lot of these folks from different traditions and
Well,
get them to agree to come on the show. And it was a lot of fun. And I think we got great feedback from our guests. I think they enjoyed it, and hopefully you would agree out there, you meaning the audience, that we asked intelligent, probing questions and tried to cover each and every area and do it objectively. Not we had no agenda other than to let you know what our guests were thinking and how they viewed and pursued spiritual growth.
do you remember anything in particular that surprised you?
Do I remember anything that surprised me? Well, I guess one of the things that surprised me, which should not have surprised me, was that whether we were speaking to somebody from Christian Science or from the Lubavitch tradition or from Hinduism, uh, Buddhism, the similarities that were there,
Yeah.
and also the deeper the person has gone in their own spiritual tradition, their own spiritual path, the more universality comes out, the more similarity comes out, and that's I wasn't surprised by that. I guess I was pleasantly surprised. That's what I expected, but I wasn't 100% sure that's what I would discover. But that is certainly what I discovered. And you, Phil, anything that surprised you?
No, but I'm glad you said what you did, because I realized, I wouldn't know how to answer the question I asked you. There were some surprises here and there because certain people, and I don't want to name names or anything, certain people replied to questions in ways that really surprised me. That and part of that was overlaps with what you're saying. Some people who were there and whose vocation is as representative of a particular tradition or particular lineage, they often drew from outside. They went outside their own boundaries in answering questions. And so I agree with you if you look at the full 300 or so interviews on here, you will find what the certain scholars who are called perennialists, and all the swamis and Buddhists and everything, who always spoke of in terms of there being many, many paths,
Right.
and they all lead to the same, or virtually the same inner experience if you take them deeply enough.
Right, right.
That,
And Phil, I wanted to add to that. One of the things that did surprise me, I don't remember one guest we had that ever became defensive or began proselytizing. This is it, and I'm on this path.
Oh,
and you want to get on
absolutely.
this path. And I've encountered people like that in my life, believe me. And this is it. And if you don't do it, and this, don't listen to the other 299.
Well, we didn't invite those people.
Yeah, yeah. But I would have thought that might pop up once in a while. I can't remember any time it did pop up like
No, never did. You're absolutely right. They all embodied the spirit of inclusivity and of non-exclusivity in terms of spiritual goals and aspirations. And in a sense, if you take everything as a holistically on the website, everything together, you find that essential unity that underneath
Right.
all the different approaches to spirituality.
Right. Yeah, the other thing I was going to say is, and it's something I hope we did, and that is that everyone seems like everyone at one time or another goes through difficult times in their life, and hopefully some people that were going through those periods that tuned in to Spirit Matters Talk came to understand what we all know to begin with, but re-enliven that thought in them that, when all else is failing, let's go inward. And whatever way you go inward, but that all spirituality goes in this within, the inner quietness, the inner peace, the inner tranquility, that there's that no matter what's going on in the outside, one can always go inside and find that. And so that hopefully we accomplish. I mean, I must say I have had people tell me that, so I know at least in some cases that was the case, but hopefully we did a lot of that.
Yeah.
And we will continue to do a lot of that because our archives will continue. And please encourage people to go to archives. Hey, listen to this. Maybe there was an interview you like, but have them discover that. I think it's a treasure chest out there that everyone is welcome to dive into now and hopefully way into the future.
And I would encourage listeners who may not have been tuned in for every interview to go through the archive and listen to some of the ones you haven't heard yet.
Right.
You'll run into people you've never heard of.
Right.
And you may say, I don't know, what does that person have to offer me? Well, I can tell you, they all offered me something.
Right.
They all had something to teach me. So I would encourage people to experiment.
I went away from every interview feeling that I'd gained something. I got some insight I didn't have before.
Right.
It stimulated me to think. And as Phil always has said, many of our guests are well known, and many of our guests should be well known.
Yeah.
Even though they're not, because they really have something very profound to say. And also, if you go into archives now and for the last year or so, I don't know how long it's been, you can not only listen to us but see us.
Yes.
The older, but most of the archives, it's just audio, and some might be sitting there thinking, well, fortunately, we don't have to look at them. We can just listen. So whatever your choice, but there's going to be a little bit of both. But if you go back, if you just started listening recently and you go back and say, I wonder why I can't see them, that's because for the first few years, it was just audio.
That's right. And, one of the other things I found was how gracious, especially there's people who took the time to be on the show who are really busy people
Right,
and who are in demand. Some of the people we've
right.
had on the show, you regularly see on platforms that get a lot more audience than we have. But they were all gracious, all happy to join us, and they felt they were making a contribution by being one of our guests. I think that was terribly heartwarming. I never had any
Right,
much difficulty at all with, you know, difficulty scheduling because people are so busy.
right.
But I didn't get anybody that says, I don't want to be on your show.
Yeah, yeah, two of the outcomes of spiritual life that I've come across, that I've encountered, that I've noticed is, one is humility, the other is generosity.
Yeah,
And we got both from our guests. It was always, and we didn't have any guests that came on like, I'm the thundercloud or whatever, and nor did anyone, have an attitude toward us. I can only do it at this time, and now my time is very important. We got none of that. The people
yeah,
were really just, and there were times when we had technological screw ups. I think there was even a time or two when we had to do the whole interview from start
yeah,
to finish over again.
that's true.
And people were really great about it, and I think part of it is they had something important to say, and anytime they can have the opportunity to say to anybody, they will. And we didn't have anybody. We never had one person say, "How big is your audience?" I've had that happen when I did radio. I only speak to on stations where they have at least 100,000 people. Nobody like that. Whether you and it's a lesson for me, and that is that if I have something uh, uh, important to say, or something that might help somebody, doesn't matter whether it's 1,000 people listening or one person. It's
Yeah.
important that I say it, and I say it clearly, and feel very thankful I had the opportunity to share whatever it is I had to share with anyone else. So, and not think in terms of the big numbers.
And one of the things that pleased me, especially in the last few years, is how consistently our guests, with all the diversity, um, were speaking out for spiritual people to be engaged in the world, to serve, to make the world a better place. We didn't get escapism. We
Right.
didn't get, people saying, oh, don't pay attention to politics and all these, social problems because, we're above that, we're
Mhm.
spiritual. No, we got a lot of people speaking out and taking a stand and encouraging everybody to be good citizens as well as spiritual practitioners.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah, nobody was advocating narcissism. Everybody was there. The sign of a spiritual life is when one radiates out to others. I forget who said it and exactly how they said it, but a number of stated that the greatest joy in life comes when one works in the service of others. Some of our guests said that. Many of them said things along those lines, and many of them demonstrated by what they do in their lives.
Yeah,
And the great, and really, what is to me one of the things I've learned, and this is just me, the greatest sign of a spirit of spirituality welling up in a person is how they are to others. If they live their life in service to others, then they're obviously very full in themselves. Because these days sometimes this person is spiritual because they're reading this book or that book. It's how they live their lives ultimately. Reading that book might lead to more of that, and it's something that most of us have to work on. But at least we can be inspired by others who have that message. So, and I got a lot of that. It was very. I mean, I went away from a lot of our interviews thinking, maybe I could be a better person. Maybe I could live a more spiritual life, but not because I was being lectured to it. Like sometimes in some religions you are as a kid, you got to, these are the 50 sins you can't commit. but it's more like, I want to be more like that. I look how happy a spiritual life can be. So
And
it's a lesson.
uh, talking about surprises, um, as we got to be better known, we started receiving pitches from publicists
Right.
and people with books to promote and all this. And we said no to a whole lot of people because we didn't think it was a good fit. But on a few instances, we took a shot. We said, I don't really know this person. I've never heard of it. The book looks interesting. Well, I I trust the publicist, or the press release is kind of intriguing. So let's take a shot. I was never disappointed.
Right.
I was always in some cases, delightfully surprised by how substantive and informative and engaging somebody I'd never heard of in my
Right.
life, and where I wasn't quite sure what they had to offer. They were just fabulous guests, and so that teaches me that things like name recognition and popularity don't they're not always indications of
Right.
who's worth paying
Right.
attention
Right.
to.
Right.
So I'm really proud that we had people on that are less known, and so if
Right.
they are a little better known now and reach people they wouldn't have before, that's
Yeah.
very satisfying.
And we live in a very pop culture, and I must say, a lot of people that are that are icons of that pop culture are very good people that have a spiritual message, that use that
Yeah,
platform to help others. But then there's a heck of a lot of people that are not recognized or not on social media, not picked up anywhere, that also have something profound to say. And I think we did a good job getting both. And
we
and,
did.
and again, Phil, your term that really made me think how to approach things better was always we have people who are famous, people who are well known, and people that should be well known.
Yeah, I'm going to
And
keep using that
keep using it.
on my new podcast. I think we should
Trademark it.
thank certain people, Dennis, like Jack. Why don't you?
Jack, oh yes, okay. So Jack Greasehaver, who did all of our technical work and really saved us on not want to say most or even many, but all occasions in terms of getting these, especially the video parts, but also the audio and all up. Want to
Yeah,
thank
without him, we couldn't have done YouTube.
Jack and I went to college together. We go back a long way. He's had a very successful career in website design, and I'm limiting it more than that. He worked for the American Gemological Institute, and we reconnected. He's out in Carlsbad, California, and I reconnected with him a number of years ago, and he jumped right on board, and not knowing that there might not be great reward in material reward in being involved with us, but he gave 100% and couldn't have done it without him. So Jack, thank you very much. And the real reward for me is being reconnected with somebody I had connected with many years ago. So thank you, Jack. And yeah, Jack.
And I want to thank everybody who wrote in with suggestions for
Right.
people to interview. I want to thank the publicists, who sent us books and made press releases and emails pitching their clients. And we apologize for the times we have to say no, but I'm really grateful to them for introducing us to certain people. And I want to thank all the listeners who subscribed and told their friends about it and said nice things on social media, and especially those who sent in financial contributions to help us cover our costs. And mostly, I want to thank all the guests, who gave us, a half hour, an hour, in some cases, 3-4 times. We've had repeat guests a lot on the show, and 2, 3, 4 times. I want to thank them all for being part of it. And Dennis, have to thank you. I
Gotta
mean,
thank
this was your idea.
Yeah, that's true. But Phil and I also go back
Yeah.
many decades
Many
to
moons.
many moons. And I also want to say, I looked at the stats. I was telling Phil before, this year is not over, but we've had over 108,000, very auspicious number, but it's true. Over 108,000 people play from the archives, play from the show, and look us up. So that's hopefully the show has been able to influence some lives in an uplifting and a spiritually enlivening way. So yeah, and Phil, it's not over for us. There's more stuff for us to do. Who
Yeah.
knows where we go from here? And but again, mention what you'll be continuing and where to find.
Yes, Spirit Matters 2.0. The reboot
Continues.
will be on, well, but if you're hearing this, it may already be on. It will start up in January 2023 on mindbodyspirit.fm. Easy to find online.
We'll
It's a
post
new
it up to it.
platform. What?
We should post all this up on the site.
Yeah, we will. And please subscribe to that and keep in touch.
Yeah, and whatever you celebrate at this time of year in mid and late December, we join you in that celebration. And if you don't celebrate anything in particular, celebrate life and your spiritual growth and evolution. And we're all thankful to be here and thankful to be growing and evolving. And again, this show will continue as long as technology will allow it to continue, and hopefully continue to uplift and folks everywhere at all times. So anyway, it's been a real pleasure.
Well, all good things come to an end, but there's also no beginnings and no endings.
Yeah,
that's one of the takeaways from our interview.
Perfect.
So Dennis, it's been a joy. Thank you.
My pleasure.
You and I continue.
Yeah, well, Phil and I promise you folks out there, we will be in touch. All right.
We'll continue to have fun. Thank you, everybody listening. All the best.
All the best.
Blessings to all of you. Thanks for being part of this adventure with us.